Let me start by saying that our hearts and our minds are with Israel right now. Please join me in a moment of silence to commemorate all the lives that have been and may be lost in this tragedy. Thank you. Now I'd like to call up Berkalit, Berklee College's Jewish a cappella group, who will lead us in the singing of the Israeli national anthem, Hatikva. This will be followed by the recital of the prayer for the State of Israel, led by Hadassah Standhill.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, Hagen Aleha Bevrat Chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Armcha v'mitcha l'rasheh sareh v'yotzeh, v'taknem be'etzah tova milfanecha. Chazek et yedei mignei eretz kodshenu, v'anchilenu Eloheinu Yeshua v'ateret nitzachon tatrem. V'natata shalom ba'aretz v'simchat olam liyoshveha. V'nomar Amen. Our Father in heaven, Rock and Redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with everlasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Berkalit, and thank you, Hadassah. Thank you all for your presence here tonight. And by the way, for those who may not know, due to the graciousness and generosity of a few Technion supporters who are covering the costs related to this evening's events, all revenues from ticket sales and sponsorships for tonight's event will be directed to the Technion's Emergency Fund, providing desperately needed support for reservists who, when they return to campus, are likely to need that kind of assistance. So thank you very much to those who are funding this evening's event. Let me also say, without in any way minimizing the tragic magnitude of what is transpiring in our homeland, that tonight is a night to recognize, commemorate, and even celebrate an amazing milestone, the centennial anniversary of the founding of the Technion. Over the last 100 years, we, Israel, and the Technion have been here before. The Technion has seen and helped Israel overcome numerous wars for her survival. Israel and the Technion have always prevailed, and they will now too. Of that, we have no doubt. So, for a few hours tonight, let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on the wonders that are Israel and the wonders that are the Technion. For those of you who may not know me, I am Steve Wishner, and I serve as chair of the American Technion Society's New England Region Board, following in the footsteps of 19 past presidents who have held this position before me, dating back 60 years. I step into this role inspired by my predecessor, a truly wonderful man, the late Gil Fishman, who left this role due to declining health. My involvement with and dedication to ATS and the Technion has only deepened over the past number of years as I have become more involved and as I have learned more and more about the amazing work and accomplishments achieved at the Technion. I now proudly serve on the ATS National Board, have taken on the roles of chairing the audit and risk committees at the national level, and am very proud to have been a newly elected member of the Technion's Board of Governors. For me, the Technion is truly inspirational. As you will also see in a brief video that we will share with you a little later this evening, the university has played a critical role at every stage of Israel's history and is fundamental to its future. I will repeat that. The Technion is fundamental to Israel's future. Since the day it opened its doors nearly 100 years ago, the Technion has been the cornerstone of Israel's remarkable achievements in science, technology, and education. Without Technion scientists, Israel would have lacked the engineering talent to build the fledgling country's infrastructure and agricultural sectors. And today, Israel would not be the global leader that it is in the high-tech sector, which powers Israel's economy, without the Technion's talents and expertise. Every corner of the globe has benefited and continues to benefit from the scientific, technological, and medical discoveries and innovations developed at the Technion. It's an amazing success story. Science and entrepreneurship have gone a long way to secure Israel's global position and to improve the quality and life of its citizens. No other institution can match the Technion's track record of innovation in service to the state and the people of Israel. No other institution holds more promise for Israel's future because, as you will also hear later in the program, the Technion is preparing the leaders, scientists, and entrepreneurs who will reimagine the future and build the next 100 years. This centennial is an inflection point, a powerful moment where we acknowledge all that the Technion has done for Israel and for the world, and all that it has yet to do. The New England region has had a meaningful role to play in the Technion's success. We are part of a network of chapters and regions across the United States that has provided over $2.7 billion over the last 85 years for student support, faculty recruitment and chairs, research, buildings, laboratories, classrooms, dormitories, and much more. This remarkable legacy not only powers Israel's economic growth and security, but it also develops technologies that better millions of lives across the globe. We are proud of all that we here in New England have achieved in providing support for this great institution. There is no better person to tell this aspect of the story than my friend and one of Technion's great champions, Ed Goldberg. Ed has served as the regional president here in the 1980s, and Ed, with his professional counterpart, Madeline Bell, who is here tonight, and a few others later with Joel Berkowitz and Ruth Gold, truly provided the foundation for and built the powerhouse of a chapter that I was so fortunate to inherit. Ed, please come to the podium. The floor is yours.
I have not been at the Bimmer since my bar mitzvah, so I'm a little bit nervous tonight. For those of you who know me, I came in from Bozeman, Montana tonight to be with old friends and new friends. And I do really find it very reassuring to be with you at a time of such uncertainty. It's almost unimaginable what has happened in a matter of 15 days. We have gone from a point where we were going to have a celebration, and I think at this point this is a period for introspection and reaffirmation. Steve mentioned that this was going to be a centennial celebration for Technion. That means that the Technion was established in 1924 before the State of Israel. And the founders of the Technion thought that should there be a future state for the Jewish people, that they needed a contemporary economy that was knowledge-based. It had humble beginnings. In fact, one of the first programs they had was a course in repairing locomotives that were going to travel between Haifa and Baghdad. Obviously, that never happened. One of the reasons for Technion's success, I believe, is the strategic alliance, which has been formed with the American community, all of which you are a part of. It's a symbiotic relationship where 1 + 1 makes 3. And the achievements in shaping Israel have been nothing short of remarkable. What was once a fantasy had become a reality. For the time being, though, that fantasy has been shattered as we mourn the lives of innocent grandparents, kibbutzim, music goers, mothers, helpless infants, and so many more. In the face of such an unspeakable tragedy, it becomes difficult for me, and I'm sure for you as well, to contain your emotions and to understand what our role is going forward. It is time to reflect on Jewish history, current and past, and to ask ourselves whether we want to remain silent in fear that we will activate the ire of people who already hate us, or to stand firm by confronting those who choose to degrade and humiliate us while others wish us dead. The decisions that you make personally will not only define who you are, but will define the future of our extended Jewish family. The record of the New England region is a case study of how a small circle of friends with humble beginnings can make a disproportionate impact on a small but growing country. It started in the 40s with members of the Stein Club at MIT, and this was a time when the number of incoming Jews to MIT was restricted. Later, in the mid-70s, we organized a handful of visionaries at a time when Israel's exports consisted mostly of shipping holy water from the Dead Sea, flowers from the Gaza Strip, and oranges from Jaffa. At the time, we were a little bit disillusional and were presumptuous to think that we could actually transform a struggling economy to a technology powerhouse. Now, Madeline Berman, who's here this evening, was our first executive director. She was quickly intoxicated by this fantasy and was instrumental in making this chapter one of the most productive in the country. Going forward, Joel Berkowitz, who is right here, had perfected the art of the kibbutz, and he coupled that with an unstoppable passion for Israel that took this chapter to even greater heights. Now, to realize the accomplishments that we have all achieved, we needed people. We needed really good people, people like yourself, who had vision, smarts, and above all, who gave generously of themselves. Now, I don't know all of you, but if I were to speculate and connect the dots, I would suspect that you're inquisitive, generous, you're risk takers, you're relentless, thoughtful, and a bit defiant. It is this very grit that we need tonight to send a message to our adversaries. I often think of the people who were engaged in Technion early on. I think of Ori Friedman, who was the son of a bootlegger and one of the first explorers in the biotechnology industry, who was a persistent force in building the chapter. I think of Dick Koplow, who was an intellectual powerhouse, who helped us design a management program. And then, in my consciousness, I always think of my dear friend, Reinhard Frank. Reinhard, when he had just turned 15, lived in Berlin with foster parents. He was supposed to go to study in England, but at that point, Himmler prevented Jews from emigrating from Germany. Reinhard and his sister was subsequently arrested by the Gestapo, processed, and transferred in a cattle car to Theresienstadt, where the International Red Cross inspected that concentration camp and said, yes, everything's okay. Reinhard and his sister, Anita, was subsequently sent to Auschwitz. His sister, Anita, and he were separated, and she went to Bergen-Belsen, where she perished. After surviving a year and a half in a slave labor camp, Reinhard was able to escape a death march. Reinhard had multiple homes. He was always restless, but for some reason he thought Boston was a good place to make his home. He was sweet, he was soft-spoken, he was a beacon of hope. There was no limit to his kindness, and he was a fierce supporter of our work. I often think on my way from Bozeman, if Reinhard was alive and here tonight, what he would tell us at this moment. Unlike the past, we're not here tonight to talk about nation building, nor the newest technology, But how do we best respond to the suffering and the hardships of our Israeli partners? There is no time for debate. There are no historical precedents, and there can be no excuses that we do not know about the trauma. Simply speaking, the events of the past 2 weeks are a call to action. These are extraordinary times which require an extraordinary outpouring of support. Since we all live in the shadow of the Holocaust, the events of the last 2 weeks are especially painful. And for this reason, I appeal to your defiance and to your resolve. And to remember the Reinhard Franks of the world. We must think thoughtfully of the young mother whose husband is on the Southern Front, who has 2 daughters, and her job is to stand strong during the day and to put her children to sleep in the evening, but always wondering about the hostages and the young children. She cries herself to sleep, wakes up in the morning and wonders whether she'll ever be the same. I can never and will never erase the image of Israelis with their hands bound behind them, facing torture and the threat of being killed. I know in my heart that each of us will rise to the occasion and support our brothers and sisters at the Technion who cannot ask directly for your help, but who depend on the invisible thread that binds us together. I'd like to thank you in advance for your support and your ongoing commitment. If not now, when? Thank you.
Breathe for a moment. One of the honors that I have as the CEO of the American Technion Society, my name is Michael Waxman for those who haven't met me, is to work with people like Ed and Steve and many other lay leaders that are governing, that are supporting, that are encouraging. I can tell you, I mean, I've had a career elsewhere prior. I've never experienced a group of individuals so committed and so supportive. And Ed and Steve, thank you for all you're doing. I also, my staff gave me 3.5 pages to read to you, but they didn't tell me that I'm allowed to thank them. So I wanted to very much thank Sally Rosenfield, who's sitting up here. She, has big shoes to fill from Joel and Madeline, and in my perspective, has done a wonderful, wonderful job. So thank you. And Hadassah, where are you hiding? Oh, all the way back there. Welcome to us. And one of the pleasures for me is when I travel around, I get to see all those talents that I didn't know existed in our entity. And so Hadassah is certainly one of those rising stars in our organization. There are a number of, I just mentioned 2 other names, Judy Sager, who is here in your region. Thank you, Judy, for coming. And I noticed this evening, walking around, that many of you know David Kevo, who is pretty much a Bostonian, and who went to the other coast. We kind of relived during the last 48 hours his childhood, or younger childhood. We went to Brandeis today, where he was a student, and we had a very interesting, fascinating meeting with the president of Brandeis. It was good to see that there are presidents of very reputable higher education institutions that are supportive, very supportive. So it was a very good meeting, and I hope that there is something between Technion and Brandeis that can be developed, because it would be a strong connection. I think Ed used a number of names that many of you are familiar. Your region, pretty much all of you in this room have contributed tremendously. And I can tell you, when I joined a little bit more than 6 years ago, the American Technion Society, I would walk around the campus in Haifa, and I would see names. And when we had lunch, Scott Black and I met him for the first time in person today. He showed me a plaque from this region with gifts, and I said, look what I have on my phone. Because when I walk around the campus at the beginning, these were just names. Tonight, and during the last few years, I've met the people behind the names. And I thank you deeply. There are so many projects: physics, aerospace, the PhD, MD PhD program from Professor Peretz Levy. When I walk around the campus, I see your names. And so does everybody on the campus. So you really have built the campus. There's a big center named after Amos Horef, which I know many of you contributed and built. The students love the center. I've been there. So I really deeply thank you for all the support. We as professionals, we cannot do this without you. We try our hardest, we do our best. We have great people like Sally and Hadassah. We had a very good year. Last year, our fiscal year just ended. It was one of the strongest fundraising years we had under David's leadership for the Technion. And we have these really encouraging, wonderful plans celebrating 100 years of Technion. And the last 15 days have been brutal. I mean, just incredible. Now, I know I'm in a better spot, all of us are in a better spot on this side than what our colleagues and friends and many family members are going through. The resilience that people living in Israel always distinguish. It's not just Israelis. We have many colleagues who have made Aliyah or have moved there. Is incredible. You know, there are these moments where we have conversations. Is it appropriate to do events like this? And you didn't know it, but you were one of the test cases. We're going together to a board meeting in San Francisco, and I'm going to call on him there, because we're struggling. How do we do this in the next weeks, months, right? Obviously, we're not going to use the word celebration. You know, there's honoring, there's commemorating, but I tell you, what I hear from my colleagues is amazing. When we express those hesitations, I get responses, are you insane? Go on. We want you to continue. So I know we're going to get through this. It'll be with a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and losses, as Steve and Ed both pointed out. I thank you for all the support. I sent the big greetings and regrets from Professor Uri Savan, the president of Technion. He would have loved to be here, I assure you. He would have preferred to be here than what he has to work on right now. And I'm sure he will make good on coming to Boston again. We have a great honor that Professor Ehud Behar happens to be hanging out at MIT and doing research on a very light topic, as you will find out in a moment. I love how my staff, Ehud and I, we have done work together, so we knew each other, and so I got this paragraph. He's a high-energy astrophysicist. And I said, okay, how do I pronounce high energy? Is that about his field or about himself? He's the former dean of the Faculty of Physics and the past director of the Norman and Helen Asher Space Research Institute at Technion, and he holds the Dr. Philip and Sarah Gottlieb Memorial Chair. And he's one of really Israel's preeminent astrophysicists, as you will see. And Scott, I'm about tempted to call on you because without your knowing, he explained over lunch to me what you do. And so it was my remedial session to understand what was written down here for me. And he's working on the most violent events, not on Earth, in the universe, such as black holes, galactic winds, supernova, and gamma-ray bursts. He's leading the development of the gamma-ray burst localizing instrument that features an innovative method for localizing gamma-ray bursts. I had to read this. So we're very grateful that you're here. Before we'll have the honor and pleasure of listening to Ehud explaining to you what I just tried to verbalize. We'll show you two short videos. The first one we received a day ago? Yesterday morning. This is when we open our email inboxes in the morning. It's a video from a young Technion student, Hilla, who was displaced from her home in Sderot on October 7. And you learn how the Technion has stepped up for her. So it was not in the original program. We did feel we wanted to share this with you at this moment. The second video is one, again, we wanted to use this occasion not to forget what has been accomplished, where we are, where we were 16 days ago in our spirits, and where we're going, and that the Technion really will be here, and it will contribute in the future, both for Israel and the world. And I thank you deeply for all the support, for your friendship, and it's a real honor to be in a group this evening. I don't think I've been as relaxed in the last 15 days as being among a group of really friends of Israel and of Technion. So thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for your support.
שלום, אני הילה חצב, פליטה משדרות. הייתי אמורה להתחיל ב10/10 להיכנס פה למעונות ולהתמקם, אבל לא הגעתי לקבל את המפתח. הטכניון יצרו איתי קשר ושאלו אותי אם הכל בסדר. עניתי להם את מה שיכולתי, כי מאיפה אפשר בכלל להתחיל לספר. אמרתי להם שבאתי משדרות, שיצאתי בלי כלום עליי, שאין לי איך לאכלס דירה, שאין לי אפילו כרית וסדין לישון עליהם, לא היה זמן אפילו להרוס תיק קטן, לקחת כמה בגדים, כלום. אמרו לנו או עכשיו או שאנחנו עוברים לבית הבא, אין זמן, עכשיו צריכים להתפנות. אף אחד אף פעם לא מכין אותך לרגע שבו תהיה פליט בתוך המדינה שלך עצמך. הטכניון קיבלו אותי בזרועות פתוחות ואמרו לי, רק תבואי, אנחנו נדאג לך להכל. אנחנו נלך לכלי רחצה, לאוכל, לבגדים, אנחנו נאכלס לך את כל הדירה, רק תבואי ונתרום כל מה שנוכל. הכרתי פה את הצוות המדהים, מסטודנטית שהתנדבה איתי במהלך הימים הראשונים להכיר לי את הטכניון, ועד נשיא הטכניון שפגש אותי וקיבל אותי ורצה לשמוע את הסיפור שלי. אני מתארחת פה בינתיים במלונית בטכניון, עד שבעצם אני אצליח לסדר את הממנות. אני פה כבר 3 ימים, אבל כל יום אני מקבלת משלוחים של דברים שלא יכולתי לחלום עליהם. אני יכולה להגיד ממברשת ומשחת שיניים שנתנו לי, עד למחשב שקיבלתי על מנת שאני אוכל ללמוד כאן. אני לא יודעת מתי אני אוכל לחזור לסדרות ולראות את הדברים שלי שוב, אבל אני יודעת שלפחות בינתיים פה בטכניון אני בטוחה. חוויתי פה סולידריות ואחווה, וכזו קהילה שאני חושבת שאי אפשר לחוות בשום מקום אחר בעולם. ואני באמת כל כך מאושרת שהגעתי לכאן ושבחרתי ללמוד כאן. זה היה החלום שלי ללמוד כאן, עוד לפני שבכלל ידעתי איזה אנשים טובים יש כאן.
For decades, the Technion has been making a global impact by turning science into groundbreaking technologies. The beautiful green campus perched on Haifa's Mount Carmel is bustling with talented students and scientists perfecting innovations that will impact our future and help solve major 21st century challenges. They're standing on the shoulders of giants. Technion scientists who have shaped our world and changed the lives of millions, who have discovered new forms of matter, developed revolutionary medications to fight cancer, life-changing drugs for patients with Parkinson's disease, and built an exoskeleton suit that enables paraplegics to walk. Technion researchers and alumni developed advanced drip irrigation technologies for agriculture, which help feed millions of people. They created the world's first cultivated ribeye steak, and the list goes on. The Technion has gained worldwide recognition in quantum research, artificial intelligence, stem cell research, water engineering, robotics, and advanced healthcare. Now that the Technion is kicking off its Centennial celebrations, it has rightfully earned its place among the world's leading research universities. The Technion was a driving force in building Israel's science, technology, and engineering infrastructure. And in recent years, it has played a key role in transforming Israel into the tech nation. 100 years of making an impact domestically, globally, and even in space. On our quest to make the world more sustainable and our lives healthier, our mission for the future is to nurture the next generation of global scientific leadership and provide young women and men the knowledge, tools, and inspiration they need to better our world over the next 100 years and beyond.
And you know, I'm both honored and humbled by being able to speak to you and you know, apologize for him that he has more important things to do at this time, but I'm sure that he will come around. Look, we intended to celebrate the Technion here, and I'm sure that when you signed up, those were your plans. And you know what? We have to celebrate the Technion. This is not something unusual. If you think of our Jewish holidays, right? Our celebrations are always mixed with some agony. So it strikes us every time, but we will persevere, and we know how to see the light and see the good things, even during these terrible times. So I'm really here to tell you a little bit about the Technion, and I'm sure you know a lot of it, but it's important enough to mention. The history of the Technion is really the story of Israel in modern times. It's the epitome of Zionism. It combines vision, determination, courage to do things that haven't been done before. And really at the base of the Technion is this unquenched desire for innovation. Israel's infrastructure, economy, civil society, security for sure, and even our foreign relations, that wouldn't be the same without the Technion. Technion is at the heart of all those good things that you know about Israel. Founded in 1912 when Albert Einstein laid its cornerstone and opened to students in 1924, which is why we're celebrating 100 years soon. Technion led what was called back then the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael, a small community in what was certainly a remote corner of the world, to a state really like no other. And not only in our neck of the woods. I think we, as a country, are genuinely or laguim, the beacon of light for the world. You often hear many say that Israel is a modern miracle, rising from the ashes of the Holocaust, and within 75 years, really nothing in terms of history, growing to the country that we are. And I just look up, one of the 2 countries in the world with the highest venture capital funding per capita. As a science, I have to tell you, I don't believe in miracles. It's not a miracle. Israel is, my friends, not magic. It's the outcome of hard work, vision, and determination over these years of Israelis, and not the least, Technion and Technion alumni, some of which I was fortunate to meet here today. Technion has always risen to the challenge of the hour. Early on, it was mostly national challenges, but I think now if you visit us, you'll see that we're not shying away from global ones either. And I'll just give you a few examples. Israel needed an air force. Technion established a faculty of aerospace, back then aeronautic engineering. And to this day, we're the only such department in Israel. Its graduates founded Israel's aerospace industries. After the peace agreement with Egypt, Israel needed to obtain intelligence because we pulled out of the Sinai Peninsula. No problem. The Technion established the Asher Space Research Institute and was on its way to making Israel one of only a handful of countries that develop, build, launch, and operate their own satellites. And you can imagine who the other countries in this space club are. So that's what it's called. It's called the Space Club. No one nearly as small as Israel. You have to understand that Technion lives on innovation and progress. The young Israel needed to develop competitive agriculture. You saw some of that in the movie. Sure enough, the Technion had an agriculture engineering department. As the country developed and matured, and so did the Technion, it became the civil engineering faculty. Nowadays, when environment becomes a global problem, we turned it into the civil and environmental engineering faculty. These are not just names. This is just to show you how we are moving forward, and in many cases leading the technology. Just this year, we announced the opening of the Resnick Center for Sustainable Processes and Catalysis that will create innovative solutions for food production and medicine to meet growing global needs on one hand and the need to minimize negative impact on nature on the other hand. And these, I can go on and on. Here's another example. When our young country needed to modernize its industry, the Technion was first to establish an industrial management department, faculty, that was truly interdisciplinary back then. Nowadays, when computers are at the helm and big data is our major concern, this faculty turned and reinvented itself into the Faculty of Data and Decisions. And again, these are not just names. They reflect the Technion's ability to face the challenges of the time. The 1950s, this is close to where I am in physics, microelectronics and semiconductors were key to the chip industry. We established a microelectronics institute and a solid state institute. When nanotechnology was leading the way in the 1990s, we moved on to open the first nanotechnology center in Israel, the Russell Berry Nanotechnology Institute. And now that we are entering the era of quantum computing, the Technion has the Diller Quantum Science and Technology Center. And if you notice all these names, you realize we are not doing this alone. You see, we never rest. The startup nation was born on the Technion campus in Haifa. We're at the forefront of many cutting-edge research innovations in the world, and certainly the leaders in Israel. Technion graduates have established thousands of companies, some of them in Israel, some of them worldwide, most of them startups, generating tens of billions of dollars in revenue, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs just for the Israeli economy. let alone in other places. An important identity that the Technion has is the combination of technology and science. We're not only a technological institute. Technology and science go hand in hand. Our Faculty of Medicine, which, by the way, is a unique feature for technological universities, has produced 2 Nobel Prize winners and a variety of life-saving developments thanks to the incorporation of medical research inside an engineering institute. The Faculty of Materials Science and Engineering produced the 3rd Nobel Prize winner. No other institute in Israel has so many Nobel Prize winners as the Technion, and we're the technological institute. So science is certainly part of our mission, and you can't do science without technology, and you can't do technology without science. With hard work and determination, Technion is succeeding in joining the leading academic ranks in the world, and it will continue to strive to realize our mission, and I'm quoting here from something that's written on the Senate auditorium in Haifa. A science and technology research university among the world's top 10, dedicated to the creation of knowledge and the development of human capital and leadership for the advancement of the state of Israel and all humanity. Technion, which is approaching the 100th anniversary since it opened its doors, is not resting on its laurels, but continues to strive when its underlying Jewish values rooted in tikkun olam, healing the world, are written above our heads, everywhere we go. And boy, does the world need some healing right now. These are special times. These are difficult times, not only for us, for all of our friends, families in Israel and around the world. Not to say for some of us, these are unbearably unpleasant times in Israel for those who are at the forefront of the Gaza Strip. We were just notified that the school year will not open. I don't know if we heard that or if Michael announced it. Over 30% of our students are drafted on reserve duty, doing miluim. As the campus braces itself for a possible northern front, nobody knows, we live day to day. Have no mistake, us Israelis were tough. We've been through hard times and unfortunately had more than our fair share of wars. Yet the inhumane, brutal attacks on innocent civilians on October 7th are unprecedented, even by Middle Eastern standards. And I believe it will go in history as maybe the cruelest, most cowardly attack on our people since the 1940s in Europe. As much as we have tried to recover from the Holocaust, history is bringing us back 80 years. Being in Boston and in Cambridge, I also want to say one word about U.S. campuses. Shlomit and I live very close to the Harvard campus, and of course I spend time at MIT. Trust me, as a scientist, I have to say this, I'm a champion of free speech. I'm the first to tell you that the freedom to express yourself is the most fundamental ingredient of intellectual progress. The Technion has always defended freedom of expression, regardless of who the speaker is and how agitating it may be. But what's been going on and what we've been hearing from student groups around this country, including some university leaders around the world, but mostly in the U.S., should not be protected under the free speech right. It is outright incitement. And if you can imagine, if anything that's more irritating and agonizing, not to say defying any sensibility than these inhumane, evil attacks, is to blame the victims for them. Acts of terrorism and violence against innocent civilians can never be justified and can never be condoned under no circumstances whatsoever. Let me tell you, and it's important that we leave here with a message of strength. We will prevail. Israel is strong, and we will not only win this battle, but we're going to win the war because we're the good guys. This is a war for the free, prosperous country against those who want to decimate it, only because it is so successful. It will take time, maybe a few months, we're told. And after this episode of violence is over, Israel will have to rebuild. It's no small matter. Not only the lost homes, of the poor student that you saw in the movie will need to be physically rebuilt, but our economy, our civil society has been torn apart. You probably know some of that from reading the news. And I'm telling you that just like 100 years ago, Technion and its alumni will rise to the occasion and pioneer the rebuilding of our country as much as it takes. Our first order of business, of course, will be to bring back this hope and sensation of optimism to all of our students who see the Technion and university education as the key to their bright future. They will spearhead the recovery of our wounded nation, just like their Technion parents and grandparents did when called to duty starting 100 years ago. My last message is the following. I told you how vibrant and agile the Technion can be, and how we strive on change and progress. But I need to tell you one thing does not change, and has not changed for the past 100 years. And Steve and Ed before me referred to this. It is the bond we on Mount Carmel in Israel have with our brothers and sisters in the US. It's the mutual commitment. A bipartisan delegation, I don't know if you're following the news, of 10 US senators, by the way, visited Israel today. And one of your most aircraft carriers is watching our back from the Mediterranean. If we at the Technion ever needed the same type of enthusiastic, unconditional support from this community, it is now, during these really dramatic and sensitive times. I want to end by, asking for peace. Sorry, it's in Hebrew. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. Thank you very much.
So this is Misha Berach, and this is a prayer for healing, and the melody was written by Debbie Friedman.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen, and let us say Amen.
The next song will be Hashkivenu It is the mashup of two different versions of the prayer for protection. The first version was written by Dan Nichols and the second by Craig Taubman.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Elokeinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Elokeinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tziteinu L'chaim u'shalom me'ata v'yad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Elokeinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Elokeinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'shalom
The Centennial is a monumental milestone in the history of the Technion and for the state of Israel. The Technion is so important to Israel's future because it is preparing the leaders, the scientists, and the entrepreneurs who will reimagine the future. And yet, this is also a moment that is deeply heart-wrenching as Israel grapples with one of the most severe emergencies ever. You all, wonderful supporters, wonderful friends, your giving permanently ties you to the future of Israel and all that it can offer humanity through science. Thank you. Here's to a future of peace, of innovation and discovery. Amen. Please join us right outside of the sanctuary doors for dessert buffet. And thank you for being here tonight.